Welcome back to another Impact Report breakdown. In this breakdown, we're looking at PagerDuty's fiscal year 2023 Impact Report. There is a lot here, and I'm excited to highlight some interesting things that I saw while looking through this Impact Report. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop over to page 10. So we skip over to that. Quick pro tip. If you are putting together an impact report, please include a slide or a page like this where you're going over the highlights. These impact reports can be extremely dense, and so having a page where you can see the high level impact is much appreciated from someone who's reading the report. But anyway, digging into some of their highlights, 95% of employees volunteered or donated to a cause. That is awesome to see. Congratulations to the PagerDuty team on that. 1.25 million in funding deployed, as well as 1.2 million if we're skipping over to the right hand side in product discounts and donations to impact organizations. An impact organization, I believe, is a nonprofit, but also social enterprises as well as educational institutions. One statistic that I really want to highlight here is this one right here. 90% of employees say PagerDuty's social impact work makes them proud to work for the company, and this is for the second consecutive year. So whenever you have an executive, for example, if you're pitching a social impact program or you're getting a resistance from executives about the benefits of these type of programs, you can just direct them over to this statistic from PagerDuty. PagerDuty is a public company, a really large organization. 90% of their employee base is saying that, yes, this work makes me proud to work at this company. That is very impactful. All right, so now moving over to page 13. And so what I really want to highlight here is how PagerDuty incorporates social impact across the entire employee lifecycle. And really what I want to double click on is this employee onboarding. This is such a great way of getting new employees especially used to giving back, but also getting a better understanding of how your company gives back and how important this work is to your company. And so this can come in a variety of different flavors, right? You can have volunteering events where new employees, if let's say you have a group of new employees, let's say you hire 5 new employees. Well, you create a volunteering event where those 5 employees volunteer alongside each other. So number one, they get a chance to meet each other, their new employees, but also they get a chance to see just how important this type of work is to your company. And I just thought that was such a simple way of encouraging this type of work and doing it early in the employee lifecycle. Brilliant, brilliant move. Okay, we're going to move on to page 15. And there's a lot here to go over. I want to start at the bottom, the technical pro bono program. So just going to read it here. So it offers employee expertise to nonprofit customers and grant partners. Okay, this is a public service announcement. If you are going to enable nonprofits and other organizations that are going to be using your product and you are a tech company, you need to have some way to support these organizations because the vast majority of them are not technically savvy. They're not developers, they're not engineers. They may not know how to implement your software, for example, or even use it to its full capabilities. They're going to have to lean on you for that support. So if you're a tech company and you're going to offer your product at a discount or for free for nonprofits as an example, have something in place like PagerDuty has here, the technical pro bono program, to ensure that these organizations are supported from that technical perspective. So hats off to PagerDuty for implementing that. Another thing to call out on this page is the ID and E team and ERGs. And what I like about this is PagerDuty is partnering with these teams. These teams are obviously made up of different types of people, different interests. If you're going to organize volunteering activities, a great way of figuring out, number one, what do these teams care about? But number two, also in these communities, in the greater communities, not just internally at your company, but what do these communities care about? And now, as a social impact team, you can create volunteering activities that are going to be effective because they are targeting specific problems in the greater communities around these ERGs. And lastly, on this page, the Community Responders Council. So, just going to read this here. A global network of PagerDuty employees who inspire their colleagues to take local action and organize activities that support their unique communities. Again, this is people on the PagerDuty team that have unique access and understanding around what the problems are in their communities. So having these responders or champions, if you will, encouraging the wider employee base to get involved and organizing activities is another great way of ensuring that your volunteering is targeted to specific problems. Because ultimately, if you're going to be volunteering, whether you are the social impact leader who's organizing these events or an employee who's volunteering, you want your efforts to be fruitful, meaning you want to know that what you're doing is having a material impact on whatever community or organization that you're volunteering at. And so this is just a great way of getting better insight into the problems that need to be addressed in a community. And also, this is a great way of just getting employees engaged and participating. And especially if you're a small social impact team, if you have champions, internal champions, it makes your job a little bit easier because now it's not you carrying the full weight of all these initiatives that you have to plan and organize. You can lean on people who really want to help out and who have, again, unique insight into the problems within specific communities. All right, next we're going to skip over to page 22. And what I wanted to highlight here is impact pricing. So PagerDuty has impact pricing that they offer to B Corps, nonprofits, educational institutions. This is not uncommon to see in the tech space where companies will have some type of discounted pricing on their software. But one thing I really want to highlight here, and something that I'm starting to see a little bit more of, is trying to figure out how to turn social impact into a revenue generator. Not to the level of a sales team or a marketing team, but can a social impact team generate some revenue to support their efforts, their initiatives, their programs? I'm starting to see that pop up in more companies, which is very interesting to see. But now we're starting to see discussions around, can we actually drive some level of revenue? Can this function connect to a business outcome? And the answer is yes. This is just an example. And there's several other examples out there of companies leveraging their social impact efforts for revenue. And to me, that's not a bad thing, right? Especially when these teams, social impact teams, are resource strapped, right? And there may not be enough for them to grow their teams or to implement new programs or initiatives. Having some way of almost like self-funding yourself, that's just going to help. And so if you are a tech company and you are on the social impact team, having some type of impact pricing can, number one, help you get your software to organizations that need it, and also add to the company's bottom line. So that is something to think about. PagerDuty is doing it. I have some other examples of companies doing it as well. And so again, this is a way of basically funding the team. Moving on to page 28, I want to highlight here unrestricted funding. So if you are giving grants to nonprofits or any type of funding to nonprofits, I highly recommend that these funds be unrestricted versus restricted. What's the difference? Unrestricted means you're giving an organization a check and saying, here's $1,000. You can use this $1,000 on whatever it is that you want. On the flip side, restricted essentially means here's a check for $1,000. You can only use it on X or on Y. Now, there's pros and cons to both, right? One of the pros of it being restricted is you know exactly where those dollars are going. Use this $1,000 on this new program, right? It has to go to that program in order for that nonprofit to get that funding. However, unrestricted, in my opinion, is better because the organization, the nonprofit, knows where the money needs to go, whether it is to pay the staff or to buy certain equipment. And in my opinion, a company that's giving out funding should not dictate how the funds are being used. That should be the organization because, again, they know better. And so if you are going to have a grant or give out some type of funding, ensure that it's unrestricted so that way these organizations can take that money and figure out exactly where the funds need to be used and obviously put those dollars to use. The last thing that I want to cover is on page 30, the PagerDuty Impact Accelerator. I love this idea. And I love it because PagerDuty clearly understands where they sit in the greater impact ecosystem, if you will. They are a technology provider. They have a technology that nonprofits can use, and they know that, and they do that very well. And so they see themselves as an accelerator in that their technology, their expertise, their funding can help accelerate organizations that, in this case, focus on time critical health and climate equity. So they're not trying to, be the entity that knows all. They are merely here to ensure that the organizations that are solving specific problems that PagerDuty cares about, they are here to accelerate that, helping them go from point A to point B at a faster rate. And so to me, this is just a fantastic way of creating a program that pulls together technology, funding, expertise, and deploying it to organizations that meet a specific criteria, obviously, in helping them get from point A to point B, from point B to point C, so much faster. Okay, that's it for this Impact Report breakdown. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.